Okay, so this is not a book review, but I just wanted to check in. I just passed the halfway point. I'm a little bit more than halfway through Lord of the Rings. And this is not my first time reading it. So let me give you a little bit of my background on reading this book. This is my third read of this book. This is the copy I got from the Science Fiction Book Club way back in the year 2000, okay? And you can look at the artwork, nice cover work. We've got Frodo, there's the ring on the spine. We have Strider on the back. We have Gandalf, okay, with his staff. Here's the ISBN on this particular copy. This is a really excellent copy of the book because, as you can see, I've had it a long time. The jacket art by Donato, printed in the USA is what it says. But this copy, as you can see, it's really heavy paper. It's held up really well. The binding on this book is really good. And I've had this book for 20 years and the pages are still white. They're not yellowed. So I do have a little bit of stain from, I don't know if I got coffee on it right there or something, but it's still in really good shape. Anyways, the first time I read this, man, it was a struggle. I wasn't really all that much into it. I was like, man, this book is touted as being this epic masterpiece, and I'm just having a really hard time getting into it. I had read The Hobbit previously, which I will say, tip number one, if you're going to read Lord of the Rings, please read The Hobbit first, because The Hobbit's going to help you get acclimated to Middle-earth. And some of the characters, like, for instance, Bilbo, who is the protagonist of The Hobbit, he does appear in the sequel. So Bilbo Baggins is in this. But this book follows the adventures of his nephew, Frodo. And so there's going to be some key characters and things that are introduced in The Hobbit that are going to come back here. And you'll be like, oh, I remember this from The Hobbit. Like, so, yeah, for instance, like Gandalf. Gandalf is in The Hobbit, and he's going to be back in this book. But yeah, this is, as far as fantasy is concerned, this is kind of like the King Daddy. You know, this is the one that everybody apes. Everybody that writes fantasy has read this. And this is kind of like looked to as the pinnacle of the fantasy genre. So yeah, I'm about halfway. The only thing I can compare this to as far as world building is concerned, all right, is the science fiction book Dune by Frank Herbert. Okay, that's the only other thing I can think of that has an appendix in the back of the book that has a bunch of information for you. I mean, because this is all appendix starting right about here. That's all the appendix of the book. The annals of the kings and the rulers, the Nemorian kings. You've got a timeline. Gondor's in the air of Gondor and the heirs of, what did that say? Anarion, and I probably said that right. The Tolkien fans are gonna murder me. We've got a historical timeline in the back of the kings, and then there's a breakdown of the first, second, and third age. We've got genealogies in the back of this thing for the dwarves and various rulers. I mean, this is like really ridiculously world building on an epic scale. That's all I got to say. There's a whole timeline here of the three ages and various events that took place. So yeah, it's just a quick check-in. Here's a genealogy for the Baggins of Hobbiton. But yeah, this is like a whole world. Now this is where I'm at. Okay, so I'm at the Taming of Smeagol. Couple chapters back, I did want to mention something about the voice of Saruman. So Saruman's the White Wizard, and he's able to use his voice to like project and control people. And I was like, huh, did Frank Herbert steal this or borrow it for the Bene Gesserit? Because the Bene Gesserit, the female space witches, right? They're able to use what's called the voice. And of course, George Lucas does this in Star Wars. So everybody's borrowing from everybody. And even Tolkien here is borrowing from Celtic and Norse mythology and the Germanic gods and all this stuff. In fact, even Richard Wagner, I think, who did a series of operas called the Ring Cycle. So that's where you're getting this whole War of the Ring. It's really borrowing from other, what do you want to call it, ancient mythologies and whatnot. But if you're a first-time reader of this, I got to tell you, it's a different reading experience because it takes about 100 pages before anything even starts to happen. Because we're just hanging out in the Shire for a long time with the hobbits. And it really takes 30 years. If you look at it, like from the time that Frodo, Bilbo's nephew, gets the ring, it's like it's his 30th birthday party. And then I think it's 20 years go by before he even starts on his quest. Like Gandalf comes back. This is much condensed in the movie. If you're watching the film, it makes it seem like it all happens over the course of a day or two. But it takes much longer in the book. But this is they'll be walking along, for instance, and I don't know, it's like you get all the history of a particular geographical location, and somebody will just start talking to you about, the history of trees or something, and then there'll be a song interlude, and then maybe they'll meet a character. So Tom Bombadil, for instance, when they going out of the Shire, they encounter Tom Bombadil, and this time around, Tom Bombadil didn't really annoy me. Remember the first and second time I read this, he annoyed me. This time, not so much. Maybe Tom Bombadil's growing on me, but he can kind of be a shocker or a showstopper the first time you read this. But yeah, I'll review this proper. I just kind of wanted to do a check-in just to show like where I'm at, because this is you got 1,000 pages, baby. Dune was my copy of Dune was like 500 pages, so I've already read Dune. I would have read Dune twice, just to read this once. All right, that's it. I will give an update. Hopefully, I'll have a review for this in the next week. So probably don't expect to see me until I finish the book. I just wanted to check in and give an update. So, all right, that's all. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.